Hey guys, how you all doing? What's happening? How's your week been? All good, I hope. Um, Hopefully not quite as busy as mine's been, but hey, um, you know, being busy is good. They say, so they tell me. Um, yeah, but yeah, kind of just starting to chill now a little bit and kind of wind down, have a quick bourbon, and chat with the boys. So let's chat. Let's talk. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? Old timer, hey man, how you doing? Good to have you in the room. Who else have we got here? Long Island Mopars. That's what I need a bourbon. Yes, we all need a bourbon. Absolutely. Robert Hirschfield, hey, Kiwi from Vegas. Oh, Las Vegas. Yeah, that's a place I like, Las Vegas. I know a few people that really don't like Las Vegas, but I do. I love it there. Well, I mean, it's home of the SEMA show, so that goes a long way. Hey, how many of you guys have seen all these amazing pictures coming in from so many different people at SEMA? There were some pretty wild cars out there. Who else have we got in? Roy Miller. Hey, good to see you along. That's cool. Nathan McCree. Yep, good to have you in the room. Barry Cooter. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Well, this is true. Yeah, I don't often get to have idle hands, I'll tell you that. Robert Hirschfield. I'm 30. Okay. Good for you. What, like today or what? Old timer. I, an intellectual, have scotch. Oh, is that right? Scotch. Well, I didn't realise it was that kind of puts you in the whole next kind of intelligence bracket. I didn't realise that. Maybe I'll have to start drinking beer. Robert Hirschfield, minutes south of Sandy Valley. There you go. Cool, man. Long Island Mopars. Haven't had scotch in a while. No, it's been a long time since I've had scotch. John Orkowski. Hey, Kiwi. How you doing, man? Good to have you along. Sasquatch. Bourbon is king. I agree. Cheers, Sasquatch. Cheers. Oh, time with scotch is nectar of the gods. Yeah, but which ones? That's the question. Which ones? Alan Trimble, greetings from Delaware. Scotch tastes like battery acid to me. Bourbon is glorious. Different folks, different strokes, huh? John Orkowski, beer is for me. Yeah, I do like a cold beer on a hot day. That's hard to beat. Long Island Mopars. I may have to go and open up my new bottle of Mitch's bourbon. Mitch's, okay. Don't think I've ever tried that one. Robert Hirschfield, how's Casper coming along? I'm just at the moment. The hold up on that is just getting Casper across to the rack so we can get her up in the air and try and complete that 6 links rear suspension. So hopefully we'll have her on the rack by the end of the week, and then dig into that 6 link early next week. And once we get that wrapped up, we can start throwing a floor in it and stuff like that. So start throwing a floor in it now, I guess, but I really want to get that 6 link in there so we can finish up that rear suspension, and we can see how much, what we've got to make for pockets for those rear upper arms that come up through the floor. So so I really need to get that suspension completed, and then we can carry on. Who else we got? 6th Street Garage. Hey man, how you doing? Good to have you along. Old timer. Mitch's is decent stuff. Try Baker's 7 bourbon. I'm tonight I'm drinking Weller Black Label, which is Good friend of mine gave me a bottle of that, and it's really nice stuff. It's really nice stuff. Barracuda, is the Old Harper whiskey mentioned in American Graffiti a real brand? That's a very good question. I have no clue. I have no clue. Don't know. I guess it probably is, but you never know. It was the movies, it was Hollywood. So yeah, who knows? John Orkowski, that's a good question. Yeah, I thought so. Someone's got to be Googling it now as we speak. All right. Well, we've got a few of you in the room today, which is good. Early on, the first 5 minutes. So let's have some question, guys. What's going on? What do you want to know? What do you want to hear about? I wonder if someone would pick up on that. Roy Miller, got to ask, what is the new purchase, pray tell? I'm going to keep you waiting for a few more minutes yet. We'll see how the room fills up. So we don't have to keep retelling the story. Holy Car Mods, hey, just joined. Well, welcome along, but good to have you here. Old timer F7. I think we should all have a bourbon with Kiwi every time he goes live. Sounds like a plan to me. Steve Sadusky, hello Kiwi. How you doing, man? Good to have you in the room. Long Island Mopars, Mitch's is now open. Good man. Well done. Have one for me, brother. Steve Sadusky, what's going on with your merch? I'm glad you asked. I've actually got a good positive answer. This time next week, I should have it. Well, maybe Wednesday. They promised to have it to me before Thanksgiving, so I'm sure it'll be like Wednesday at 4:30. But, that's round figures. That's a week. They're going to have it in a week. What I'm hoping to do is actually get the little store, I guess, if you call it that, on the YouTube site, up with the stuff in there listed and, get some, if you guys want to do some pre-orders, that'd be awesome. John Orkowski, Rutro, Kiwi bought another car. I did buy another car. 6th Street Garage updates on March. Well, okay. Updates on March. Well, I've got one video that's away getting saved off some damaged SD card, and I did get confirmation today that they have retrieved all the videos off that SD card, including the one with Marge's getting some new floors. So there's that coming, and I also picked up a 6-way power seat for Marge. So we've just been tearing that apart. I mean, it came out of a very rusty car. So the seat's actually in pretty good shape, but the mechanism, the lifting and sliding mechanism, is heavily rusted. I mean, it's not beyond repair, but it's just everything's frozen solid. So we've just finished up a video tonight on that, like at 5:00. So I'll hopefully stitch that together and put that one out tomorrow. And that's like a part 1 of 2. The part 1 being getting the electrical stuff working, and then part 2 is going to be tearing apart all the mechanism that actually does the lifting and sliding and all that stuff. We've got to figure out how to get rid of all the rust and stuff on that yet. So got to even figure that out before. I don't have access to a sandblaster currently, so I can't sandblast it. So someone did come up with the idea of putting it in water with baking soda and then running a battery charger into it. Apparently that's a great way of like an electrolysis type of thing for getting rid of rust. So, but if anyone's got any bright ideas about that or have done it, like, speak up, tell me all about it. But yeah, quite excited about the merch. We got a Marge t-shirt coming. It's got a picture of Marge, and on the back, with it's got large Marge written on it, and it says in smaller print under that, tell them Marge sent you. So that's kind of cool. And we've got a Kiwi Kev shirt with Kiwi's little legs doing a burnout and like looking all like he's trying to go fast. Called Super Kev, which is a rip off of the Aussie Super Roo, which is meant to be like the Australian Super Kangaroo. So we've got the Kiwi Super Kiwi. But yeah, it's a bit of fun. And that's just got Kev on the front. And we got beanies with Kiwi Classics and Customs embroidered into them. And what else have we got? Stickers. And that's all for now. So we'll see how that goes. That's quite a little investment just doing all those. So we'll see how those go. And obviously it's running into winter. So, we might we'll see how the t-shirts go and maybe do some sweatshirts, that kind of thing, hoodies, whatever. And again, do tell me what you guys would like to have. Yeah. Now, where are we? I just got to catch up to where we were. So yeah, that's the updates on Marge. Long Island Mopars, like button, folks. Hit the like button. Yeah, please do hit the like button if you're liking it, of course. It does help the algorithm. That's the favorite catchword these days is algorithm. But yeah, it's a thing. And same with the videos I do. Hit the like button on the videos that I do. Because it does bump the video up and just helps, keep the wheels turning, IB Thunder, Kiwi the man. Thank you, sir. Steve Sadusky, I'll pre-order for sure. Cool, man. Awesome. Old timer, I'm down for a shirt. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'll have to get this. I don't actually have a clue how to even get the merchandise onto the YouTube channel, but I'm sure there's plenty of information there. I've just got to actually take an hour and sit down and work it out. Okay, Craig Jones. Hey, it's Kiwi Live on Wednesday afternoon. It is Wednesday afternoon in New Zealand. Why did you leave New Zealand for the US? Well, I'd always wanted to live in the US. It's an old car thing, obviously. I've always been into old cars. The whole American car culture that's here. And, New Zealand will always be home, and it's an absolutely beautiful country. There's no doubting that. But it is small. And, I just wanted to get out and see the world a little bit more and try something new, like follow your dream to go and build hot rods in America. So, yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to get a green card. So we packed up and hit the road. And that was 15, 16 years ago. Terry, wondering if you quote jobs or work on time and materials, and what is your hourly rate? Okay, no, I don't quote jobs. It's just too hard. There's so many variables. And when you get into cars that are 40, 50, 60 years old, the variables you just can't predict because you don't know what 10 other people have done before you, when you start digging into a job. I'll give an estimate, and it's more of a guesstimate than an estimate. Hourly rate, we're looking at $150 an hour. Ross Davis, hi Kiwi from Blenheim. Okay, I know Blenheim. Just getting the rebuilt engine into our 66 Jaguar. Many Jaguars over your way. There's a few, but not very many. You see there's a few out there. I mean, Kevin Tate's that buddy of mine who has Paint Education. He built an XJS Jaguar, with a small, not a small block, an LS Chevy in it. And there's a few XJSs around, XJ6s around. You even see the odd, like Mark 10 and stuff like that, occasionally come up on Facebook Marketplace. So there's a few Jaguars around, but nowhere like per capita, nothing like in New Zealand. What model Jag is your 66? You see a few E-types here too. There's an E-type for sale, not far from me, like 40 minutes away from me. and it's not a bad looking car, and he wants 20 grand for it, and it's like, oh man, that is such a temptation. But I swear, Mrs. Kiwi would just kick me out of the house. Like she'd change the locks and send me packing. So because I've got other cars I've got to finish first, which is, that's fair. But, you see these things come up and then someone's going to buy it. It's a good deal, I think. 20 grand for a very, very buildable E-Type. Yeah, but, someone else is going to buy it. Someone's going to get it. And it'd be one of those ones I think, man, I should have bought that, but, I just can't right now. Josh Homan, good to be here. Good to have you here, man. Robert Hirschfield, what happened to the Cougar you did the fastback conversion on? I'm sorry if I missed it. Yeah, well, I do get a lot of questions about that, which is fine. The customer was basically, he had a couple of other projects on the go as well, like a twin turbo Ford Lightning that another shop was working on, and another hot rod. And so he was trying to build 3 cars at the same time, and it just didn't really work. So that's gone onto the back burner. It's gone home, and hopefully we'll get it back sometime next year and, get back onto it. But time will tell, Jeff R. G'day, Kiwi from Glenelg, South Australia. Glenelg, yeah, I have heard of that. Where did you get that T-shirt you're wearing today? Miller's Speed Shop. Mate, my wife got me that off internet somewhere. One just like on Facebook, you'll see different companies come up with selling T-shirts every now and again. And that was on there, and yeah, she got it for me, and because she knows, like American Graffiti is kind of the favorite movie, and yeah, so she got me that. But yeah, it's a pretty cool T-shirt. I like it. Where are we? Oh, I've lost my place. Where was I up to? There we go. Granddad's Junk. G'day, Barry, Cooter, Kiwi, and everyone. G'day, Granddad's Junk. Good to have you here. Old timer. Carhartt baseball hats with Kiwi's classics and customs on it. Okay. Well, we can do that. At the moment, it's just a beanie. Well, not just, but, because we're going into winter, I chose a beanie, but yeah, we did talk about baseball hat, so that's definitely on the cards. 6th Street Garage, Kiwi, I hear. What? Not sure what you mean there, but tech bits and pieces. Being busy makes that end of the day drink so much better. It does. It really does. Cheers. Robert Hirschfield, we're happy you're here, Kiwi. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Pop's Mustang Shop, full zip hoodie is very versatile. Better than pullover hoodies. Okay. Full zip hoodie. All right. I'll keep that in mind. So, would you guys want something like that? Would you want just like a little Kiwi Classics and Customs here on the left side, or would that be something you'd want? Maybe the Marge one picture and stuff on the back. Large Marge, as well as that, or yeah, certainly open for feedback on all of that stuff. There's no point putting stuff out there that you guys don't want. So, Long Island Mopars, buddy of mine had a 1966 Nova restored on a flat rate, body and paint. The shop that did it said never again. They lost their shirt on the bodywork. Yeah. And that's exactly what will happen, because you just don't know what's hiding under that paint and bodywork. Well, obviously when you're working on them all the time, you can take a more educated guess than some, but there's always surprises. That just never fails. Andy Nickel, good evening, Chris and all. Good evening, Andy. Ross Davis, S-Type. Oh, nice. 3.4 manual in metallic British. Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be a nice car. British green is just a classic colour, isn't it? Holy car mods, Kiwi here. Evaporust works well if you want to give it a try. It's supposed to remove rust. Yeah, I did think about that. To get the mechanic that these pieces are, gosh, probably close to a couple of feet long, the main runners, and they're probably that big, so you're going to need a lot of evaporust to actually submerge them. So yeah, and then someone mentioned this electrolysis. Oh, I bet she knows. Electrolysis thing with baking soda and running a battery charger into the water and creating a charge in it is supposed to be very effective. And obviously, water and baking soda are ridiculously cheap, so I'm going to look into that a bit more. But evaporust is definitely on the radar. Granddad's junk. There is a huge growing Yankee cars here, and I went to a petrolhead breakfast. Heaps of imported cars. Yeah, it's amazing how many. For those of you who don't know, Granddad's junk is South Island, New Zealand based, and the American car culture in New Zealand has, and that Murphy's Law. It really exploded shortly after I left. And the cars have been getting imported at quite large numbers. It's amazing how many American cars are in New Zealand and the following that it has. It's pretty wild. Per capita, it's pretty impressive. John Olkowski, you would probably be living in large margin if you bought the E-Type. Yeah. Yes, I think you might be right, but oh man, I have to say it's been bouncing around in my head. It has, but yeah, goodness, I hope she's not watching. That's all I can say. Well, I never know whether she's watching or not, so hopefully she's not, and I won't get interrogated about what's the Z-Type Jaguar nonsense. Josh Homan, at least large Marge is nice and big in case he ever did have to live in her. This is true. Sixth Street Garage. Sorry, Kiwi. I heard that the wheelbase of a first generation Cougars is a few inches longer than the Mustang. Do you know if that's true? Yes, it is a little bit longer. Gosh, I don't know the number. But it is. The wheelbase is a little bit longer, and the overall length, due to overhang, they got a very long nose on them. So yeah, they're probably close to a foot longer than a Mustang. Well, depending which Mustang you're talking about, but the equivalent year. Barry Cooter, do you like American Graffiti too? Man, it's like most sequels. It's just not quite there. I've watched it a couple of times, and yeah, it's not bad, but it's not as good as the first one. But that's that's the story of a lot of sequels, and plus you already kind of know the premise. They can't just do the same thing again. They've got to change it up a little bit. And who liked Cars? The original Cars movie was great. Cars 2 or whatever the name of it was, the second one, it just wasn't as good. Because you'd seen it before. It wasn't that new, that edge. And, So it's not bad, but it's not as good as the first. Chris Cadman, Kiwi, bourbon time. Yes, it is. I hope you're having one, Chris. Robert Hirschfield, did you go to SEMA this year? No, I did not. Simply didn't have time. I'm off to New Zealand for 3 weeks in December. Like next month, next month, I'll be in New Zealand. So, for 3 weeks to go to SEMA is like, it's a week without, there's no way around it. It's a week. You got to fly there Monday, or during the weekend before it. And then, it goes through Friday night, you party large Friday night, stagger home over the weekend. So you're something had to give. Not to mention it, SEMA and traveling back to New Zealand is not free, so it's not a cheap exercise. So yeah, SEMA had to make a pass on that, but we're already arranging to be at SEMA next year. So yeah. Paul Pahui. That sounds like a Maori name. Pahui. Might be with a J. No, it's not. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Kiwi, how time consuming is the install on the new Dakota Digital RTX instrument panel? It's not bad. It's not bad. You kind of have, there's like a little brain, a little black box, a little brain, which your main wiring goes into that. And then, your Dakota Digital display goes into the little black brain. And the first one you do, it's going to give you a headache. Honestly, like you've really got to think about it. There is quite a bit to do, and figuring out where things go. But just take it, one instruction at a time, and it's really not too bad. If you add things like the shift position indicator that shows on the dash, that adds another chunk of time to it, a couple of hours, because you've got to install the little sensor that goes on the shifter, and then you've got to run the wires from that to the little black box, the little brain, and adjust it all so that when you're in drive it actually shows D and not R or 1. So there's a bit of fluffing around like that. So depending how many extras you put in with it will affect how much time it takes. But awesome dash. Like I love them. They're great. There's so much programming in them. You can make them, you can put in service intervals, so it'll give you a reminder like your 24 car does. Your car's due for a service in 300 miles. Like your temperature gauge, it will give you a warning, like a red light warning on the dash when it gets too hot, and you can program that. You can put a window in when you want it to warn you. Same with the oil pressure; it doesn't just rely on the gauges. Trouble with gauges, if you're not looking at them, they can climb, they can go through the roof before you look back again. So there's some value-added safety features in the Dakota Digital that I think is great. Because we don't all spend, you've got to be looking at the road ahead. You can't spend all day looking at your gauges. And like if your oil pressure drops and you're relying purely on a gauge, you've got a 30-second window between the losing oil pressure and losing the engine. So it's probably not even 30 seconds, depending on the RPMs you do. So it'll be a bit of a test if it's your first one, but just follow the instructions. You may have to read the instructions half a dozen times before it kind of. I know I find that's what I have to do. I read it, goes what, and I'm like, what the heck? And you read it again, and it starts to drop. Starts to fall into place, and you read it again. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now. So sometimes you got to read it a few times. I mean, if you read it the first time and just go, what the hell? And like throw your hands up, then you're going to be in trouble. But it's like, sometimes it just takes a while to get through from the actual visual reading of it till it makes sense in your brain. So just read it a few times and you will get there. Tech bits and pieces, citric acid for the rust. Okay, so like soak it in a lot of citric. I've heard vinegar is good too. I only saw a little bit. I know Dr. Art was doing was cleaning up some rusty stuff of his on Big Richard with vinegar. But I don't actually get to watch a lot of videos on YouTube. So I saw a little bit of it, and I had to go back and have a look and see how he got on. But he's actually coming over to the shop tomorrow because he's bailing me out tomorrow. So, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Long Island Mopars, Vanishing Point or Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry? Do you prefer one over the other? I like Dirty Mary and Crazy Larry. I thought that was a very cool movie, and when I saw that in the movie theaters, so I was pretty young. Dirty Mary looked absolutely smoking hot to I don't know, I was 14 or 15 or something like that. And Susan George, who played Dirty Mary, that's how impressed I was with her. I still remember her actual name. Was just, the stuff young boys' dreams are made of. Barracuda, Vanishing Point for me. Yeah, there we go. Gone in 60. Oh, Robert Hirschfeld, Gone in 60 Seconds, the original. Yes, that was a very good movie too. There was a bunch of good car movies in that period. It was really great. Terry, it's actually washing soda, not baking soda. Okay. The process works great with minimal effort. There are a lot of YouTube videos on the setup. Okay. Vaporust is great, but expensive, although you can reuse it. Yeah, my kind of hesitation with the Vaporust is I think I'll need like 3 or 4 gallons of it. And it's like 20 something bucks a gallon. So suddenly, you're $100 and something bucks worth of Vaporust. And it's like, ooh, okay, that's okay. I mean, I got the seat for free, so I'm not complaining, but it's like, oh, that's a lot of Vaporust, and my penny pinching ways kind of go, oh, hang on a minute, like, is there another option? So, but that's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look at some YouTube videos and go and figure out how to do that electrical one, because that sounds like it's going to cost 45 cents to do it. So, unfinished project. Welcome along, bud. Okay, the car, Long Island Mopars, the car or Christine? Oh no, well, if you're referring to Dirty Mary and Crazy Larry, it was definitely the car or Christine. I'm not sure what you're asking there, but now anyway, I kind of did you guys a teaser on my little pre-live little post that I put up earlier this afternoon about what I bought, and which ties in with Dr. Art coming over tomorrow, because I've been looking for a shop truck. I need a shop truck badly. I sold my big old Dodge, well, not big old, but 2008 Dodge Ram, because it was just becoming a problematic vehicle. So I got rid of that, and then I soon realised that I really need like a truck of some sort for the workshop, just to run engines around, even just as simple as running the trash down to the dumpster. So I've been looking around, wanted to try and find an old Ranchero. Wasn't really having any luck finding one of those that was what I wanted in the condition that I wanted. So I was looking at Ford Rangers and thought maybe we'll get a Ford Ranger and we'll do a V8, because I got a bunch of like 3 289s sitting around. We'll get a Ranger and throw that into it, and have a little wee V8 shop truck. And it's like, okay. So I was looking for one of them. Couldn't really find. They were either like too good and too expensive, or too bad and very cheap. And I didn't really find anything in the middle. So I kind of went against all my, well, I shouldn't be too harsh. I was thinking about, it's been about 40 years since I've owned a Chevrolet. And I kind of succumbed and bought a 2006 GMC Canyon, which is like the Chevy Colorado. So yeah, first GM product in the Kiwi family for a bunch of decades. And so of course, as Murphy's Law again, I went to bring it home tonight and won't start. Just cranks, won't start. We'd thrown a power steering pump on it because that was whining, and it whined for a short time and then broke the shaft off the front of it. So I guess the pump seized up or something and the shaft broke. So we threw a pump on it, $40 for a pump, and started it up, bled the pump, perfect. Backed it out, locked up the shop, went to leave, won't go, just won't go, nothing. Cranks, nothing. It's getting fuel. It appears to be, you can, when you turn the key on, you can hear the pump going if you put your head right down there. But it's like, God dang it. Like Chevy, like you have it for just a very short amount of time and it lets you down. But it was a pretty cheap Chevy, so I can't be too harsh. But Dr. Art's going to come over. He thinks he knows what's wrong with it. So he's going to come and bail me out, because I'm opening the hood and I'm like, there's no carburetor, there's no distributor. There's like, what am I supposed to fix? There's nothing under here I can fix. So he's the computer geek. So he's going to come over tomorrow and see if we can't get this, What's the acronym for Chevy? For Chev, cheap, hastily engineered vehicles. Yeah. So yeah, that's the shock horror. Kiwi bought a GM product. Um, you all know I'm a Ford guy, and obviously Mopar as well, to a slightly lesser extent. Not I don't like them less, but I owned a lot less of them. Um, so yeah, bought a Chevy and it broke down already and is dead, parked outside the shop. Like, yeah, that'll teach me for straying from Ford. But I just couldn't find the one I wanted, and he was a Chevy. It's not a bad looking truck. They're quite a good looking little truck, the Colorados / Canyon. And it's like, yeah, that might be all right. And there's conversion kits to put an LS in them. So yeah, I don't know whether I want to go down that road or not, but it's an option. Quite a popular option from all accounts too. So yeah, so Dr. Art's coming over tomorrow. He's going to try and fix it. So look out for a video on his channel of him saving Kiwi's bacon. Yeah. So there you go. That's the big shock announcement. Okay, where are we up to now? My little ramble's over. Mustang Mike, my 68 Mustang has stock power disc brakes, and I find it nearly impossible to lock my wheels up when applying the brakes. Everything is adjusted correctly. Could defective brake hoses be the cause? If it was generally what happens with brake hoses is, one, they either burst and you'll know because you'll lose your brakes, and the other thing that happens to them is they swell shut, and that will stop the brakes working at all. And sometimes if they're almost sealed up and you get a bit of pressure through it, it'll make the brakes bind. Like you can push the fluid through with a lot of foot pressure, but then it won't come back, so the brakes will drag. So the way you're describing it is probably not. One thing about, do you have a brake booster? I'm guessing you don't have a booster. Disc brakes. Oh, hang on, stock power disc brakes. Yes, you have told me. Stock power disc brakes are fine. Okay. You should be able to lock the wheels up. What are your pads like? I would look at getting maybe a better quality pad. That could, they could be glazed. They do, stop. There's some cheap pads out there that don't actually grip. Their drag coefficient is not very good. So it could be that. Wrong size master cylinder, bore size will make a difference. If you go a little bit smaller in bore size on your master, that gives you more leverage, effective, hydraulic leverage. That could do it, but I would honestly be looking at pads. Just make sure that you've got decent pads in it, and they might be decent. Doesn't necessarily mean nice and thick. Like they might be hardly any wear on them, but they might be no wear on them because they're too hard, or they're just not. They just slide over the rotor instead of grabbing it. Good disc brake pads will wear. They will create dust, and you'll see that's them working. So yeah, like what you don't want is disc brake pads that last 80,000 miles because they're not grabbing the rotor. They're not. Yeah, they're just not gripping it. So yeah, I'd go down the pads road if I were you. And I've done that on a couple of Mustangs where we paid the money. Like a good set of pads will cost you $150, but man, they'll stop. They will make you stop a lot better. So yeah. Holy car mods. I've always been a fan of Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage. I don't like Nicolas Cage. Just something about him rubs me the wrong way. So yeah, I'm not a fan of his movie, any of his movies. But everybody's different. Obviously, a hell of a lot of people do like him. So it's a me problem, not a Nicolas Cage problem. It's just something about the guy. I don't know. Long Island Mopars, they are movies. The car came out in 77. Christine, yeah, okay. I get you now. The car, I don't know that I've seen that. Um, I may have. If I have, I've forgotten it. But Christine is that. Yeah, that's a big time favourite of mine. Um, yeah, we were talking about that last week. Actually, we talked a bit about Christine last week. But you weren't here, Andy. I mean, really, everybody had their feelings very much hurt when you didn't show up last week. It was not good. No, it's all good, man. Honestly, I'm just messing with you. But the car, I'll have to go looking for that and see what that one was about. But yeah, Christine is a great movie. And of course, I love the car, like most of us do. Yeah, I get asked if I get a lot of people commenting about Marge saying that's like Christine, which is not quite, but and it's a wagon, but yeah, it certainly has some similarities. Barracuda, there's a very good car chase in the movie The Driver, starring Ryan O'Neal. Yeah, C10 Chevy and a Camaro. Yeah, that's a good movie too. That's a good movie. Andy Nicol, Tony did an experiment with electro rust removal. It worked okay, but I don't think it got all the rust. Have to watch again to remember. Okay. Yeah, it's certainly not a new idea. But yeah, it's like, yeah, if I can put these seat tracks, in a 5-gallon container of water and run a battery charge to it and add whatever it is I need, and I can just walk away and leave it for a week or however long you need to leave it for, and hopefully clean them up. Oh, Long Island Mopars Barracuda. It was a Firebird 400 in the Driver. Okay. Huh. Stray Bullet. Ford guy here who daily drives a 2006 Chevy Silverado. My 33-year-old F250 is more reliable. There you go. You see. Yeah, I shouldn't have been tempted, by the dark side. Yeah, but that's all good. Dickie Farley, hey man, welcome along. Steve Sadusky, Kiwi's cool and real. Well, thanks, man. I just, I don't have the energy to be someone else, other than who I am and what I am. I really don't anymore. Maybe maybe 30 years ago, I might have tried to be, something that everybody wanted to watch or something like that. But now it's like, well, here I am. This is it. This is me. Take it or leave it. And it's working, so I'm going to run with it. When I look at my demographics on YouTube, it's older guys. I'm not appealing to the 20-somethings with their tuner cars, and that's okay. I'm more than okay with that. Andy Nicol, haven't watched him since. Yeah, I will go looking for video, YouTube videos on that electro rust system, but I probably won't be looking at the channel you're referring to, Andy, either. Brandon Crapo. Okay. I've had a few of those Colorado Canyons have the harness chafing on the crank. Huh. Oh, crank. Read the whole sentence. Good grief. Have the harness chafing on the crank position sensor causing intermittent starting issues. Might be worth a look. GM Master Tech here. Oh, thank you, sir. That obviously that information goes a long way. You will have worked on a lot of them. Yeah, I really haven't dug into it yet. I just rang Dr. Art and said, help, come and see if you can figure out what's wrong with this thing. So that's what he's doing. But yeah, I'll mention that to him. Yeah, it might be something like that. We did. Yeah, that's been. Dr. Art wondered if it might be a crank position sensor, but you're saying it might be wiring. Actually, the wires going to the crank position sensor. Okay, where is that sensor on the engine? Is that like tucked in behind the starter motor, like some of the GMs, or Like, is it a bitch to get at? We changed the thermostat on it. To be fair, that wasn't a bitch to do, but it was a little different. You had to take the left front wheel off and go in through the inner fender, which was a little foreign for me, because that's not how it works on a small block Chevy or a small block Ford. So I kind of opened the hood and went, where's the? It was running cool. It was running too cool. No matter how long it ran for. So it's like, okay. And having a little look on YouTube, those things are prone to the thermostat sticking open. So yeah, it was like a $30 part, but yeah, it was. Thank goodness for YouTube, because I watched the video and the guy showed how to do it, and it's like, okay, now I know, and just dove in and did it. But it was very different from doing one on a small block Ford. But yeah, be interested to know where that crank angle sensor is. What do we got? Dickie Farley likes. Yes, please hit the like button if you're liking it, guys. It really does help. It's not just padding my ego, such that it is. It actually helps with the algorithm on YouTube. Unfinished project, almost home. Gonna have a shot of brandy. Steve Sadusky, Kiwi, whatever you do, don't forget where you came from. I was on another guy's live channel and asked an innocent question and was berated by him and the doctor. Oh, okay. No, like I said, I am what I am. And yeah, I'm sure there's people out there that don't like me or but that's okay. That's okay. But the channel seems to be going pretty well. I'm happy with it. I'm enjoying it, and it adds a new dimension. And I get to meet and interact with a bunch of new people, which is cool. Long Island Mopars. You'd like the car. It's based on a Lincoln Mark III, customized by George Barris. Acting is terrible. The car is very cool. Yeah, that kind of happened a little bit, didn't it? Laurel Flynn, another one who wasn't a fan of Nicolas Cage. Oh, well, yeah, welcome to the club, buddy. Andy Nicol, yeah, Cage seems a bit inauthentic to me. Yeah, I don't know. It just, yeah. Fleetwood. Hey, Kiwi and all. Hey, welcome along, man. Mustang Mike, thank you for your info. Pads and shoes are about 25 years old with 20,000 miles on them. I do have front pad dust on the Krager. Master cylinder is correct per Napa. Yeah. I know there's high friction. I don't know who does it, but there is. Because someone else told me about it, so I've not actually got them myself. But there is a guy out there somewhere in the States here that's doing high friction brake shoes. Has a very a good high friction quality lining that he uses, and you can order, again, not cheap, but that will give you more stopping power for the drums on the rear. And yeah, I mean, you can just buy off the shelf pads. But yeah, there's SSBC have some good pads. There's a couple of them. A couple of different companies have good pads. You don't want to go too much into the hardcore racing pad because they're very grabby. And they don't work very well when they're cold. So don't go like too far the other way and go into like a full-on race pad. But read the descriptions on them. Summit's one of the best places to look for them, honestly. And read the descriptions, and you'll find some that are more high-performance street cars. But yeah, don't get a race one. You won't be happy with them because you'll just keep trying to throw yourself through the windscreen when you're not actually trying to. A good high performance road car pad. But yeah, you will have to drop a little bit of coin on them. But honestly, you won't regret it. Barracuda, the Christine model of Fury is nice, but a 57 Chevrolet Coupe is way nicer, in my opinion. Well, there you go. See, I'd rather have the Christine. But, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the 57 Chevy. I mean, it's a classic for sure. It's not a bad car, but it just see so many of them, you know. Like I've got a 57 Buick, and in my book, and this is just me, the 57 Buick is a much nicer looking car than the 57 Chevy. But, you know, if you compare the values of the two cars, clearly the public leans much more strongly towards the 57 Chevrolet than it does to the Buick, because the Buicks are like half the price. But, you know, you like what you like. You kind of, you can't help that. You know, it is what it is. Dickie Farley, my dad couldn't stand Nicolas Cage basically his whole life until a few years ago. He really hated back in the day. He done an Elvis impersonation show. And a lot of he had a thing about Elvis, old Nicolas Cage, because he married Elvis's daughter, didn't he? He was married to her for a little while. He's different. He's out there. IB Thunder, after seeing how well that 64 or 5 Chevelle showed, I decided to keep my 66 Chevy. Chevy 2, Lemonwood Yellow. It's beautiful. Original colour, picked soon. Oh, cool. Looking forward to seeing it. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad that made you decide to keep it. Because, you know, one you sell is one you probably won't ever get back again, and ultimately you'll regret selling it every time. Brandon, the crank sensor should be on the lower side of the block. Lower side of the block. Okay. Driver's side, passenger side. But thank you, sir. Sallow woman and God, am I saying that right? Sallow woman and Womanda. Sallow Womanda. Hi, Kiwi. That's only 6 tries at it. Hi, Kiwi. I have a client who would like you to take a look at his 49 Willys Jeep truck if you're interested. What is the best way to reach you? Left a voicemail at your shop a couple of weeks ago. 49 Willys. Did I get that? I don't remember seeing that. But honestly, these days, you know, I have not been. The phone goes so much, I kind of end up ignoring it, and sometimes I'll just let it go to voicemail, and if I don't pick them up right away, I can kind of miss them. So I'm sorry about that, Chief. That phone number is probably the best way to get me. You can text me on that same number, and just say hey, say who you are, quickly what it's about, and obviously I'll get the connection. I don't know a lot about 49 Willys Jeep trucks, so I'm not sure that I'll be able to help you, but it depends what he wants, what he needs, you know. Paul Bruno, nice to see you doing a live chat, Kiwi. Well, yeah, I just sort of something to give a try, and the boys seem to enjoy it, and I enjoy it, so yeah, why not? Mustang Mike, we like you. Great source of info. Cool, man. That's all I'm really trying to do is help, you know, guys like you, that are trying to do these things. And, you know, I'm certainly not that special. I have an advantage of doing this shit 40 to 50 hours a week. So I get to see more, and you most of this game is learning as you go on this old stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm learning stuff every week, and I just try and pass it on to you guys. And obviously over the years, I've learned a few tricks and a few shortcuts and a few better ways of doing things. And I just try and pass it on to help you guys. It's not like I've got to guard all my secrets because I haven't got enough work. I got way more than I can do. So yeah, if I can help you guys out, that puts a smile on my face, honestly. Andy Nickel, us old farts tend to stick together. Well, I mean, you know, we're a dwindling group, aren't we? That's the problem. Paul Bruno. Milner's, yes, Milner's speed shop. Joe Miller. I do enjoy the other guy, but he does seem to have a revolving door with his sidekicks. Wonder how long the doctor will last. Yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, I mean, Tony's a force to be reckoned with on YouTube, and he has a lot of fans, and he can certainly be entertaining. So yeah, there's plenty of room for Tony. Stray Bullet, the Tri-5 Chevys never went out of style. That's very true. They didn't. No, they're always popular, and they're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I did. Yeah, I do like them. There's just other cars I like a bit more. Like a 57 Plymouth to me is a better looking car than a 57 Chevy. Dickie Farley, I would rather have a 57 Buick than a 57 Chevy. There you go. See, I mean, that's why General Motors put out a Buick, put out a Pontiac, put out a Chevrolet, because people like different things. What I hate is when people start arguing about it. It's like you like what you like, and nobody's right or wrong. It's subjective. Laurel Flynn, I've never been a fan of car chases. Realism does it for me. Steve McQueen jumping off the cliff at the end of Papillion beats his driving in Bullet. Yeah. Well, that Bullet was, that was a struggle. From all accounts, it was a struggle to make all those chase scenes in Bullet, because the old 390 boat anchored 68 Mustang really just wasn't up to the task from all accounts. Beagle Bob's in the house. Welcome along, man. Mustang Mike. Yes, brake pedal is firm. Thinking about new pads, shoes, and have drums and rotors turned if they have enough metal left. Well, yeah. I mean, if they're glazed, they might need a very minimal skim. And a nicely turned rotor will bed into new pads better. If you don't turn them and you put new pads on, at least get some nice like 40 grit, minimum 80 grit sandpaper and scuff the surface off of the rotor thoroughly, like properly thoroughly, and that'll give let the new pad bed in. Or get them turned, but just a very light and very smooth skim. Some guys rush the turning a little bit, and you get quite a corrugated surface on them. But just tell someone to take his time and just do a nice light cut across the surface. Long Island Mopars movie trivia again. Stuntman Mike's Death Proof Nova or the Death Proof Charger? That's a good question. I don't think I've seen that movie. Death Proof. Don't think I've seen those. Max Level Kiwi. How about Kiwi branded coasters? Okay. There you go. Hadn't thought of that one. Car movie shout out to Dennis Weaver's Orange Valiant and the Spielberg classic Jewel. That was a great movie. I watched that at the movie theaters. Oh, I was pretty young. I went with my dad and watched that, and that was a pretty good movie. Salawamanda, cool. Thanks. We'll try to text one day this week. Okay, man. I will answer you. I promise. Brandon, driver's side for the crank sensor. Okay, cool. I will take a look. We'll probably have it up on the rack tomorrow, I'm guessing, if I can get to the rack. And I'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah, but yeah, thanks for the tip, man. Long Island coasters or bourbon glasses? I'd take both from Kiwi. Makes a great gift. There you go, bourbon glasses. Huh. Okay. Okay, that's all good food for thought. Stray bullet. Brake shops used to be able to arch the brake shoes to match the drums, but I don't know if anyone does that anymore. I would replace all of the rubber brake hoses if they look old. Well, yeah, okay. Stray bullet. Yes, I remember those radiusing machines that they would radius the brake shoe surface to perfectly match the radius of your drum, because obviously when you machine the drum, the radius changes, and that was a great idea. And I've never seen it here in the States, but I did see it back in New Zealand. And rubber hoses, yes, if they look old at all, just ditch them. Like put new stuff on. I'm not convinced that's his problem, but if they look old, they got to go. That's they fail, and dual master cylinders or not, you've got a problem when the brake hose goes. Granddad's junk. I must confess, I do, especially like the 30 Plymouth over the others. Here. 58 is my next favourite. Okay. Yeah, see the 30s cars. Obviously Milner's, 32 is those are a special car. But yeah, that 30s, 40s stuff is not. It's cool, and I'll stop and I'll look at one and I'll admire it. But do I want to buy one? Not so much. Dickie Farley. And when it comes to buying a 57 Chevy, I wouldn't care if it had 4 doors, especially for the money. 4-door hardtops are pretty cool. Fairly scarce. But the 4-door sedan, I don't know. It's 4-door sedan and a 57 is. They're not expensive, but they're not the prettiest car. But again, my opinion. Cool Store 187. Here we go. Some rust stuff. For 1 litre of water and 100 grams of citric acid, add 40 grams of washing soda or 65 grams or 30 grams of caustic soda. Works very well. Have used this the most out of the rust removal processes I've tried. Okay. Do you introduce an electric charge to that or not? Is that just soaking it in that mix? Steve Sadusky, Kiwi, what one-man brake bleeder tool do you use? I haven't had good luck with the Eastwood tool. It doesn't work as advertised. Steve, honestly, my one-man brake tool, and it works flawlessly, is a water bottle. I drop a magnet in the bottom of the water bottle. That kind of helps it stick to something. And then just a short couple of inches of rubber hose to stretch over the bleed nipple, bit of clear hose to go down into the fluid. And as long as you keep the end of the hose in the fluid, you can just open the nipple, pump the pedal, pump it through till you get a clear fluid going through with no bubbles. Lock off the bleed nipple, and away you go. That's how I do it, one man, and I do that a lot. And it works. I have no trouble with it. It works perfectly. But yeah, it doesn't get any cheaper than that. And it's not good because it's cheaper. It's just, I've tried a few different, fancy ones, and I don't know, they don't seem to work any better than just, a water bottle or a soda bottle or something that'll, you just make sure there's a couple of inches of fluid in the bottom of it so that the hose coming down and into the bottle, the hose has to be under the fluid. Otherwise, when you pump, it'll just suck the air back in and you just go backwards and forwards. So you need to make sure the end of the hose is in the fluid, which is part of the reason for putting a magnet inside the bottle. So you can stick it to, the suspension arm, the leaf spring, the something, and just get it all set up, crack open the bleed nipple, pump the pedal, keep topping it up, and away you go. But these pressure bleeders and stuff like that I've messed around with, you put an air line and a fitting onto the top of the master cylinder and pressurize it through. I've never had any luck with that shit. I really haven't. And the way I do it works. Costs me nothing, and It's proven. So I just keep doing that. Joe Miller used to have a 65 Bonneville two-door, was a beautiful style vehicle too. Oh, yes. I mean, there's so many beautiful vehicles to choose from. 65 Bonneville, that's a classic shape. Beautiful car. And I like cars that are a little bit different. The really the when like and I say that owning a Mustang, which is there's a lot of them around, but my one is different to most. In my defence, but yeah, I like cars a little bit different, like the '57 Buick over the '57 Chev. 65 Bonneville. I say I would rather have a 65 Bonneville than a 65 Impala two door, just because it's a little different. If I was going to have if you asked me a 67 Camaro or a 67 Firebird, I'd have the Firebird. You know. Stray Bullet. The Mustang used in Bullet was modified specifically for that chase scene. Anyone familiar with San Francisco knows that knows that scene pretty much jumped all over the city. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't honestly say I know San Francisco very well, but yeah, that's Hollywood for you. There's not always complete continuity with what they do. Yeah, no, they had to do, and apparently at times they had to slow the Bullet car down because, sorry, not the Bullet car down. They had to slow the chasing car, the cars he was chasing down, because he just couldn't get close to them. Yeah. Barracuda. Dad took me to see Bullet when I was about 7. It was a double feature. The other one was Bonnie and Clyde. A lot of violence for a boy. Yes, it would have been too. Hobie Thunder, 75 and still learning. Wrench for a dealer, had my own shop, still a blast. Got to go. It's been my pleasure, Kiwi. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, come back next week. We'll be here. Long Island Mopars. Car chasing the 7-Ups was epic. 455 Granville, tearing it up through New York City. Same stunt driver drove the Charger and Bullet. Okay. Huh. I don't know. It's a movie I don't know as well. 7-Ups. Showing some holes in my movie watching, aren't I? Yeah, my movie knowledge. Mind you, when those movies were coming out, I lived in a very small town in Taranaki in New Zealand that had one movie theatre, and yeah, you simply didn't get to see all the movies, even if you went once a week. Andy Nickel, my first car was a hand-me-down 55 Chevy 235. Dad bought new in 56. Huh. He always bought the year old. Okay. It was a good way to get a cheap car back in the day. Once, yeah, the 55 models and 56 were a lot cheaper. I love that car, but when it needed some work, Dad took it to the crusher. Yeah, it happened to a lot of cars, man. They just weren't worth anything, you know. They and even if they'd known what they were going to be worth today, like what are you going to do in the meantime? Like, look, what do you do with a car, for 40 or 50 years, keeping it? Like, you can't keep them for free. It costs money to store them and keep them somewhere, and it has its own issues. And so you just kind of had to move them along, be it to someone else or to a crusher. Beagle Bob, what does this rust talk about? I've done the washing soda and electricity on an engine block. Okay. Beagle Bob, I've got, I managed to get hold of a 6-way electric seat for Large Marge. It came out of a 57 Chrysler New Yorker, and video coming maybe tomorrow with a bit of luck. But the tracks, where it's been wet in the carpet and the car's just been a wet, damp wreck for decades. All the lifting mechanism and sliding mechanisms are very, very corroded and frozen solid, absolutely solid. So I'm trying to figure out how to address that. And somebody suggested this electrolysis type rust removal. And given that they're fairly big, they're probably pushing 2 feet long and about kind of yay round. So it's fairly big. So, like one thought was evaporust, but I'd need like 4 gallons of evaporust to submerge these two pieces. So that's it's not the end of the world, but it's a little expensive. And then someone came up, suggested this electrolysis setup. So I don't know much about it, but I'm waiting for someone to tell me all about it. So if you know, enlighten us all. And is it effective like only on surface rust, or is it effective on, this is deep scale, like lots of chunks of scale kind of jammed in the moving parts and stuff like that. It needs to be fairly pretty effective, fairly aggressive kind of deal for it to work. Stray bullet. I use the neighbour's kids as my brake bleeding tool. Yeah, man, I'd have been there. If I was, the neighbour's kid. Yeah, you couldn't keep me out of the garage when I was a kid. Somebody's garage. Yeah. Granddad's junk. Since we're talking movies, Running on Empty, great Aussie film. Goodbye Pork Pie, Kiwi classic, Mighty Mini. That was a great movie, Goodbye Pork Pie. That really was. I'm not sure how it would go over in the American market, but for a Kiwi, the Kiwi market and the Aussie market, that was awesome. Running on Empty was a good one too. Joe Miller, gravity bleeding. Yeah, I'll quite often gravity bleed as well. I'll just let it run for a while. Sometimes it just, if you're going everything new, master cylinder and hoses and all that and all that, all at the same time, I sometimes have trouble getting that to just air locks and won't gravity bleed, and you got to pump them a bit. But if you just banging in a couple of wheel cylinders in the back, so. Gravity bleeding is very effective. Long Island Mopars, Granddad's junk. The only New Zealand car chase film I've seen is Shaker Run. Again, Shaker Run, I know that name. That was made in New Zealand? I thought that was an American movie. Huh. Again, terrible acting, but that fake Firebird was awesome. Barracuda told me it was a Holden underneath. Oh, good Lord, really? Huh. Shaker Run. Maybe that's just my memory playing tricks on me. I thought it was an American movie, but clearly it wasn't if they had a Holden in it, in drag as a Firebird. Huh. The dude. That's an interesting comment. You're a very attractive man. Okay. Thank you, I think. How many bourbons have you had, brother? Josh Homan, I believe that the 7-Ups was about a police detail that specialised in cases that landed you in jail for 7 or more years. Okay. Don't know anything about that one, bud. But would you take me for a car ride? Maybe. Come by the shop. We'll see what's kicking around. Got a Colorado there if we ever get it going. But that's not much of not a very exciting ride, is it? Beagle Bob, the electrolysis couldn't hurt anything, and if you have a battery charger and some scrap steel, it would only cost a couple of dollars. And some scrap steel? Why the scrap steel, Bob? Tell me about that. Barracuda, the real star in Shaker Run was the Chevy-powered Capri race car. Okay, I'm going to have to go looking for that movie and see if I can find it, because it's not ringing any bells at all. Chevy-powered Capri. I mean, I know the car. Well, I know what the car looks like. Okay, Beagle Bob, cleaning off the scrap metal will help keep it going, and you will need to put your wire leads on each piece of the track. Oh, really? Okay. So your positive and negative. I was assuming they just dropped into the water or the solution, but you actually put them on the part. Um, huh. Like opposite ends kind of thing? Huh. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to do a bit more looking into that one. Stray Bullet, the dude has a crush on Kiwi. I'm hoping the dude's really a lady, but hey, who knows, you know? Um, Long Island Mopar. So, like, what's wrong with this picture? Long Island Mopars has seen the Kiwi made movie that Barry Cooter's talking about, and I haven't. What's wrong with this picture? Granddad's Chung. Mrs. Kiwi might have an opinion on that. Yes, she might too. Yeah. Chris Cadman, Bourbon Time. Good man. Alan Shildroth. Just type into the YouTube search engine car chase into live and die in LA. Okay. I can remember that. I think. Maybe. Um, that was Alan. Okay. Granddad's Junk. Was that filmed in Queenstown? I have no idea. Andy Nicol, the scrap steel works as an electrode. Okay. So you put your battery charger onto the scrap steel. Okay. I'm going to, yeah. There's a few gaps in my knowledge clearly there. Cool store. Make up of 5 litres or more and just drop it in. Pull the parts out, wire brush, put back in and repeat. Okay. All right. I can do that. I'm probably going to need to make up about 5 gallons, but that's all right. I can do that. Just submerge them, you know. But none of those ingredients are what you'd call expensive, so it's all good. Shaker Run started off in Dunedin, then Queenstown, then to the North Island. It starred Leif Garrett and Cliff Robertson. Huh. Yeah, well, Leif Garrett was a bit of a waste of space. Cliff Robinson was I remember him. He was an okay actor. Andy Nicol, the current goes from one piece to the other. Okay. Beagle Bob, the way it works is it basically causes metal plating with rust. It attracts the existing rust to the scrap steel. Okay. I had a cheap charger, so I had to put a battery in the circuit to keep it from faulting. Okay. Huh, okay, I'm with you. Yep, I know what you mean. Andy Nicol, one lead to the piece and the other to the electrode. Okay. That makes sense. If you put them both on, you'd end up with kind of pretty much a direct short, effectively, wouldn't you? Okay. Now that's making sense now. Unfinished project. I'm sure I missed it. You did, buddy. What did you buy in your community post? I bought a Chevy. I bought an '06 GMC Canyon, which is like the Chevy Colorado. And I didn't even make it home. The damn thing broke down like in the workshop. It's now cranking, will not start. It was running just fine. We piddled around a little bit in it and put a power steering pump in it, and it was running. Yeah, went to back it out, and it wouldn't start. It was just cranks and cranks and cranks. No sign of fire, and God, it was like, well, that'll teach you for buying a Chevy. You're like, really? Or a GM product? I should have stuck with Ford and probably wouldn't. Well, who knows? Maybe not having this problem. But I rang Dr. Art, so he's coming over tomorrow. He's going to save the day, hopefully, and plug his little magic laptop into it, and hopefully it'll tell us what's wrong, and we can go from there. Deans of Nomadica. Wasn't Shaker run about strippers racing on vertical brush rails? Seriously? Granddad's junk. Does the solution act as electrolytes as in a battery? Yep. Well, hopefully Beagle will answer that one because I can't. Don't know. Barracuda. I remember the downtown Dunedin streets being closed to traffic for a car chase scene in Shaker Run. Oh, really? How cool. Alan Shildroth. Carboxylic acid for rust removal. I've never heard of that. Carboxylic acid. Okay, never heard of it. Where would you get that, I wonder? Not from Kroger's, I'm guessing. On island motors. Oh, good Lord. If I knew about this electrolysis process with rust, I would have parked my 64 Valiant back in the day next to a steel bridge and hooked up the battery charger. Oh, goodness. Yeah, you might not have had much left when you came back. Yes. So nobody said much about me buying a Chevy. I thought I'd catch a bit of flack for that, but it's kind of been pretty neutral. Okay, now everyone's either snoozed off or stopped talking. Long Island, here we go. Long Island Mopars. Does the Colorado have the V6? No, it's got the little 4-bang, a little 2.8 4-cylinder twin cam. So she doesn't go too bad when it was going. They're like 175 horse. So even though it's a little 4-banger, it's not far off what an old 283 used to make. Old 283 Chevys were 195 horsepower. This little 4-bang is 175. So it doesn't actually go too bad. A little lazy on the hills because it doesn't have the cubic inches, but yeah. We drove it around a little bit and then went to bring it home, died. Granddad's junk. We are too polite. There you go. Josh Home and a lot of Chevy fans in the audience. I don't know. Steve Sadusky, no photos of the new purchase. No, I haven't actually. Only photos were probably when I saw it on Facebook Marketplace. But keep a lookout on. I think Dr. Art's going to do a video tomorrow of trying to fix this thing. So keep a lookout for. It's just a red GMC Canyon. I mean, you've probably driven past hundreds of them. It's really nothing. It's just dead stock, 150,000 miles. Got a few dents in it. It's just it's literally just a trailer with wheels and an engine. 4 wheels and an engine. That's really the sole purpose of it. Just for running trash to the dumpster and carrying an engine around if I need to, or picking up whatever. It's not a big enough truck to tow a decent sized trailer. Small trailer maybe, that's about it. But they're just trucks are so handy to have. I've got to grab a ladder from here in the house which is why I was going to bring it home tonight, to pick up a ladder to take to the shop to change out a few fluorescent tubes in the ceiling because I can't reach. And there's no ladders at the shop. So looks like we'll be in the dim dark again tomorrow because I was going to put new bulbs in tomorrow. But the truck said, no, not tonight, Josephine. Yeah. David Peacock, hey, from New Zealand. I have a 69 Chevelle and just went through the rigmarole of getting a warrant of fitness. Oh, goodness me. Trying to get 60-year rear drums to behave like modern discs. Oh, good Lord, yeah. Yeah, that'd be tough. People here in the States have no idea how tough it is to get through a warrant of fitness. Like they have, for the guys that don't know that are watching, like they check your brakes like part of the warrant of fitness, which is like a safety certificate. they have rollers you drive onto, and you put your foot on the brakes, and if the rollers read enough grab and they're even, like you've got two gauges left and right, and the gauges go up, they've got to go up to a certain point, and they've got to be even or within a certain percentage of each other. The needles that show the stopping power, and then you drive through and they check the rear brakes, and they've got to pull enough. Whatever the units they use, I can't remember what they are, but these needles swing up. Oh, it's probably digital now. But yeah, they check the effectiveness of the brake and the e-brake. Like the e-brake has to grab a certain amount. It has to be able to slow the brake rollers down enough, and it has to be even side to side. So yeah, they and trying to get, like, if you ever pulled the e-brake on a early on a 60s Mustang, the e-brake doesn't work worth a shit, even with new everything. You don't have the grunt to pull that thing out of the dashboard on a Ford, to hold it on a steep hill. You just don't. And it's a problem. So yeah, okay. Sounds like you've got the Warren of Fitness though, so that's a plus. So yeah, cool, mate. Glad to have you in. Watching the chat, joining in on the chat. We've got a few New Zealand viewers, watchers on here, so that's cool. Andy Nickel, Long Island, you'd have needed to park it in the river. Yes. Long Island Mopars, wow, I'm assuming a two-wheel drive in the Colorado. Yeah, it's a two-wheel drive. It's a GMC Canyon, which is the same thing. But yeah, it's a two-wheel drive. I just wanted a two-wheel drive. Robert Gaddis, GMC equals generic made Chevy. Yeah. Barracuda, I'm pretty sure the Shaker Run will be on YouTube. Well, I might go and take a look at that as I'm after the live tonight. While I'm kind of getting ready for bed, I'll go and watch that for half an hour and wind down. David Peacock, I'm slowly undoing the last owner's upgrades. Yeah, that can be a thing. That can definitely be a thing. Yeah, some people overestimate their ability a little. So hey, if you don't mind me asking, and if you do, then just don't answer. But what was a '69 Chevelle going for in New Zealand? Now these days, like what's a car like that worth? This should shock a few of the American guys watching. But I imagine that's a fairly expensive car in New Zealand. Terry, 50 people watching and only 12 likes. Come on, guys, give it up. Yeah, if you can, please, if you're liking it, hit the like button. It just takes a moment, and it does help. It does help with the, the algorithm on YouTube. The dude, did anyone tell you that you were mentioned in that Hillbilly's latest live stream? No, nobody told me that. Oh, goodness, I'm kind of a bit nervous to ask what he had to say. Hopefully it wasn't all bad. The dude, a guy told me drums are better. That might have been that Hillbilly. He's a big fan of drums. Drums are not bad. I get a lot of people coming in going, I want to put four-wheel discs on their car. And the first question I ask them is, why? Why do you want to put four-wheel discs on? And 7 times out of 10, they don't actually know why they want four-wheel discs. Most of us mere mortals driving a street car do not need four-wheel disc brakes. Drum brakes work very well. They do actually have more stopping power than disc brakes. The problem with drums is they overheat and get hot, and they lose their braking effectiveness. So they get hotter a lot quicker than disc brakes. So depending how you look at it and what values you put on things, if you're trying to drive a race car with drum brakes, it's a disaster. you need disc brakes. And as I ask my customers, it's like, do you like racing through the backcountry roads? Do you like really get after your car? Do you like late braking into corners, like, for 10 miles at a time? And most of them will go, oh, no, 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 no. I just like to give it a little squirt now and again, and that's reality. That's because if you drive hard, like properly hard, a lot, well, you're gonna get so many tickets and probably lose your license. The reality is you can't drive hard enough typically, unless you're living out the back of beyond somewhere and you just don't ever see any police. But around Franklin, if you drive like that, you're just going to end up getting arrested. So yeah, most people don't need four-wheel disc brakes. The drums on the rear will work just fine. If you're going to do track days and you're going to be doing lap after lap and braking hard and accelerating hard and going for it, then you need discs all round. But to answer the actual question was, someone told you that drums are better. Yes, they have more stopping ability, but they overheat. So if you're, I don't know, towing something heavy and going down a long hill, you live up in the Appalachian Mountains, and you're going down those long hills with towing a big weight, then you do not want drums. Disc brakes are better in that situation. So it's a little bit of horses for courses, Right, now let me I missed it. We just had a bunch of comments, so let me just get back up to where I liked. Kiwi, you ever come out to the West Coast Vegas area, need a place to stay, let me know. Doors always open. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Robert Hirschfield. Yeah, well, we're definitely coming out to Vegas next year. But yeah, don't get out that way that often. But hey, thank you for the offer, sir. I appreciate it. Long Island Mopars, warrant of fitness. No wonder you moved to the US. I mean, honestly, it's like paradise here because, like, you just dream something up and, you can make it, like if you want to put, a huge V8 into some little teeny tiny car, then just do it. Like if it starts and you want to drive it on the road, have at it. There's no rules and regulations, and it's like paradise compared to New Zealand. The downside is you get some pieces of shit on the road that are just downright dangerous, which you don't get in New Zealand because of the warrants of fitness. But from a hot rodder's point of view, if I ever go back to New Zealand, it's going to be hard to transition back to having to get everything you do approved. And like the process of building a car in New Zealand is much more complicated. Like Swiss cheese project, that Mustang that's really rusty. All the stuff I've been doing to it, I would have to get checked every step of the way and get, by an independent engineer who needs to come in and watch what I'm doing, see what I'm doing, put his little stamp of approval on it and say, yes, that's all right, you can carry on now. It's just a mother. But people do it. They manage. It sounds terrible, but when that's all you do, that's the only way you can do it. Well, you just get on with it and you do it. And you get to a certain point on a car and then you wait for the engineer, the certifier to come in and check it, give you the go ahead to keep going. It's in a way, it's a little bit like building inspectors. When you're building a new home, the inspectors come in and they check the house that's getting built along the way at different stages to make sure that it's done properly. And it's very much like that, and that has its benefits because the whole level of safety and how solid the cars are and how well built they are is and I'm talking averages because obviously there's incredibly talented builders here in the States that build cars that are absolutely faultless. But there's some pieces of shit running around out there that are done by shade tree mechanics who don't care and don't give a shit. and which shouldn't be on the road. But we really don't get that in New Zealand, because anyone who's building cars professionally has to be to quite a high level. And when I see some of the death traps coming through my shop, and it's like, it's in those moments that I think, well, the whole Warren of Fitness thing's actually not a bad idea, because it will keep these cars off the road. Tech bits and pieces. Click like, click subscribe as well. Yes, well, that's a good idea. Subscribers are always very advantageous to have. I don't know whether you guys are paying any attention, but like I was a month or so back now, got past 25,000 subscribers, which was a nice little benchmark to get past. I'd love to get to that 100,000 where you get that little YouTube sends you that little placard thing to hang on your wall for 100,000 likes, but it'll be a couple more years the rate I'm going, but that's okay. Andy Nickel, gonna brew another cup, and then I got to do some work. Yeah, well, I know what that's like, man. Granddad's junk every 6 months on older cars pre-2000. That's right. Yeah, you've got to go through the safety inspection every 6 months if it's older than the year 2000. So it's a lot, but it's surprising how many cars fail. Like, they'll go for a Warren of Fitness. They'll either pass, or maybe they've got to do something to get it up to scratch, and then 6 months later it'll fail again because something else is going, in the process of going wrong. But I mean, they check tires. If your tires are too far worn, they'll fail you. If your brake pads are too far worn, they'll fail you. Any ball joints are loose, they'll fail you. Any rust, they'll fail you. So there's lots of things they can fail you on. Granddad's saying, I just got my 50 Morris Oxford Warren of Fitness set for summer. There you go. 50 Morris Oxford. I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to New Zealand and seeing some of these old cars again, that are well, not unique to New Zealand, but certainly you don't get to see here in the States. Laurel Flynn, did you ever drive through Koparahi? I think I'm saying that right. Koparahi going to Thames. I've been to Thames. My in-laws live in Thames. So I've been to Thames a bunch of times. I don't remember that name, I'll be honest with you. But that's where I'm going to be staying for, or the majority of my 3 weeks back in the States is going to be in Thames. So hoping to catch up with some of you guys as we get closer. I'm going to kind of talk more about it and dates. I know there's a car show. Hang on. I'm just looking at my calendar on my phone, so we can get some of these dates straight. There's a car show in Albany in Auckland that I'm hoping to go to on the Saturday, the 14th of December. And then maybe catch up with some people, around that Thames area, Pukekohe area. Any of you guys watching, please feel if we can make something happen, then I'd be all about that. And for the Kiwi viewers, I'm going to bring a bunch of T-shirts to New Zealand and hopefully leave without any of this new merch. So, I know it's expensive to, I still got to charge American dollars because that's what I got to use to buy the shirts. But I'm hoping I can save you guys like a bunch of shipping and actually send them from within New Zealand. Carry them to New Zealand on the plane, as many as I can, and do it like that, which will, because one of the guys was saying last week it's going to be like effectively, I think he said $75 for a T-shirt in New Zealand, by the time you send it there, which is, it's getting up there for a T-shirt. So, in answer to Laurel's, I may have driven through there. I just don't recall. But the name doesn't ring a bell. But there's a lot of little towns and villages around all over New Zealand. But yeah, the central North Island, there's a lot of little towns you drive through. Um, Steve, now everyone's trying to do likes. That's cool. Great. Yeah, I'm seeing 74 likes up the top corner of my screen, so I appreciate that, guys. There's 52 of you on here at the moment. Steve Sadusky, I always give my like as soon as I get on. Kiwi is cool. Well, thanks you, sir. Long Island Mopars, Warren of Fitness sounds like what the F on this side of the globe. Yeah. I mean, there would just be, imagine if Trump decided to bring in warrants of fitness on all hot rods, all cars in America. That would be just chaos. Not many of the cars that I see through my shop would even come close to passing a warrant of fitness, honestly. It is what it is. Stray Bullet, I'm a fan of drums. He might have heard that from me. Okay. No, drums aren't bad. I've got drums all around on Marge, and she stops just fine. And I may not ever upgrade it to discs. And I'm a big fan of disc brakes, but Marge is never going to be, if I get the stroker motor in it or the Hemi, and I've got a bit more horsepower, maybe I'll upgrade to discs. But right now, it stops just fine. And Marge is not a car that I'm going to be late braking on the backcountry roads. I've got a Mustang that with big Woolwood 6-piston calipers all around and 14-inch rotors and all that fun stuff. That's the car to go playing around the back roads in. Marge is not. So Marge is quite happy with drums all around. Quite happy. Robert Gaddis, my brother had an 08 Canyon, blew a lot of fuses. Check them first. Great show. Yeah, the more I've, the longer I've owned this, with just a few days, this Canyon, the more I'm hearing about electrical issues with them. It's like, maybe that's why they're fairly cheap to buy. Maybe I should have researched it a little more before I threw the money down. But that's okay. David Peacock. The 69 Chevelle in New Zealand. Bought it about 4 years ago for 65,000 New Zealand. 350 small block Chev, turbo 350. No cert required. Warrant fitness, reg all good. Paint is 10-foot good. Interior is great. Had plastic steering wheel and 18-inch low profiles. Okay. 65K. That's not bad New Zealand wise. I would have thought that's not a bad buy. I know the Mustang, last time I was in New Zealand, the Mustang that I sent back for my old man, which is now just being stored, I was wondering what to do with that after he passed. And it's like, so someone said, why don't you sell it? Well, it's supposedly, it's not what I did sell it for. And, what I was told, because I still got it, what it should be worth fairly comfortably a little over 100,000. For a 65 Mustang convertible, which is a little more than they feature here. Okay, admittedly, it's a pretty nice 65 Mustang. They're not all worth 100,000 in New Zealand. But, I did build him a pretty nice car. But, yeah, it's a fair chunk of change. And of course, the other factor, and when we're talking about prices in New Zealand, the New Zealand dollar is worth about 60 US cents. So it's not dollar for dollar. 65K in New Zealand is about 40-ish. So yeah, maybe when like a 69 Chevelle, you can certainly get 40 grand for them here. I know a guy who just spent 30 on one, and it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And he paid 30 for it, and he was thrilled with the price. Absolutely thrilled. Not saying it wasn't worth it, or it was. I'm not a car dealer. I don't buy and sell cars for a living, so I don't really know what they're worth. Right, now, where were we? I've been rambling. Clearly, I've missed a few posts here. Let's just quickly go back up. David Peacock, changed to a wood grain wheel, 15-inch slots, plus other resto mod nonsense that was added. More like a day 2 now. Okay, not sure what the day 2 reference is. Oh, the dude. Someone asked him where you've been, and he made a joke about it. I forgot exactly what he said. It was a joke about your heritage. Nothing bad. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Honestly, it really doesn't bother me. Yeah, it's all history now. Terry, I use a 5-gallon bucket, 10 amp charger, clamp an 1/8 flat stock in the water with a positive cable attached, the negative to the part in the water. Don't let the two touch. The process happens fast. Okay. And what do you put in the water, Terry? Is it baking soda, or what did someone else say it was? Someone said it wasn't baking soda, it was something else. So I'm not sure what you put in the water that helps it. The dude, have you ever been to Carlisle or Hershey? No, I haven't. Be kind of cool to go though one day. It's on that list of things that I may get to do. Tim Miller, I use drums and backing plates off a 1980s Ford Explorer rear. It gives you 10-inch and 2.5. It's wider than the stock Mustang. Shelby did it, Wagon Parts, Ford did it in Explorers. Yeah, I've heard about that brake conversion. Yeah, but you got to use you can't just put the big shoes on the drums. You got to have the drums, the shoes, the backing plates, and the right springs and all that kind of stuff. You need the complete setup. But yeah, that's a good little conversion for upgrading drums, and then you keep a more conventional e-brake and stuff like that. So that's a good option. Paul Bruner, 80% of your braking goes to the front anyway, so front disc, rear drum is just fine. Exactly. And yeah, that's exactly what I tell my customers. Your front brakes do, around that 75, 80% of the work because of just weight transfer to the front. And especially older cars, they dive more than the newer cars. The newer cars have got more anti-dive built into them and stuff like that. That's one thing that always impresses me with like the Formula One cars and the Indy cars. You see them come flying down to a hairpin and they brake and the back goes down. They've got the way the geometry and the suspension is done. They don't pitch forward. They actually squat down in the back under hard braking, which just. One of the most impressive things about an F1 car, and to a slightly lesser degree on the Indy cars, is how quick they're stupidly fast. But what's more impressive is how fast they are at stopping. They stop like just so fast with all the downforce. It's absolutely staggering. Tech bits and pieces. No, not flack for buying a Chevy equals people are dumbfounded at the choice. Yes, I was a little shocked myself, but what do you do? It was a moment of weakness. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Maybe it was one too many bourbons when I saw it on Facebook and messaged the guy and said, "Oh, take it." It must be getting close to 9 because I'm getting very low on bourbon here. Actually, yeah, it is. It's 10 minutes to 9. We got 10 minutes, guys. So yeah, I need to stop rambling and answering the question. Stray Bullet, are there strict penalties in New Zealand for driving a vehicle with unauthorised modifications? Yes, there is. Don't know quite exactly what they are because I've been out of the country for so long. But yeah, they're pretty strict. They do not like it. And I believe now, like when you've got a modified vehicle, it has to have a plate in the car. and it has the modifications listed, like engraved in the plate, so that you can't like get a pass with like 4 modifications and then go and do 10 more modifications and go, it's all modified, it's all approved because there's a list. And now on your winch, they have a sticker on the windshield, and I don't know whether they brought it in yet, but I know they were talking about it, is having like a Q code for each car, and the cops could like scan the Q code, kind of like when you go to a menu in a restaurant. You hit the Q code and it brings you up a menu in the restaurant. Well, what they were looking at doing is having this Q code, and it would bring up the list of modifications for the car that's attributed to that car. And then if the police go, oh, yeah, this doesn't say anything about the 19-inch wheels you've got on it, you're busted. So yeah, and they can tow your car and impound your car if it's not right, and they will do that. Granddad's junk. Oh yeah, can't get a warrant of fitness, which means you can't register it. Yeah, you can't get your yearly tags, or we call it registering, if you don't have a warrant of fitness. So you don't get to try and fly under the radar, and then if they ping you for no warrant of fitness and no registration, well, the cars getting impounded for 30 days minimum. That's expensive. Yeah, okay, text bits and pieces. Yeah, here in Oz, modified vehicles not engineered or not safe have the potential to be crushed. Yeah, they're pretty tough on it. Robbie Autry, hey man, welcome along. And only just seen you here. A friend of mine in Australia tells me he has to have an inspector come and do the same thing on the cars that he builds. Do you have to pay to have that done? Oh yeah, absolutely you do. Yeah. These are guys that work independently, and they're you have to apply to be one of these inspectors, and it's a business. They come out, they'll inspect it, they'll tell you what's right, they'll tell you not really what's right, they'll tell you what's wrong. What's frustrating is they'll give you a list of shit that's wrong, and they say fix it, and say you fix it, and they have to come back and go, yes, you fixed it. And if they find something else, or if they say, well, no, sorry, you haven't quite fixed it properly, you're going to have to do it this way, they go away again, and they charge you to come back again. So every time they visit, you get charged. It's a bitch. It really is. But Granddad's junk. Yeah, big fines and you can lose your car. It gets green stickered. The dude, have you worked on any of Kid Rock's cars? No, I haven't. No. I've done a few minor celebs. I've worked on American Pickers, like my White Wolf's cars. We had a car of Winona Judd in the other day. Nothing really. I don't know. They all live around this area, but as yet they haven't. Not many of them have come to see me. And that's all right. I mean, their money is exactly the same color as everyone else's, so I really don't. It doesn't bother me. I'm saying that it would be quite cool. I know. What's his name? Keith Urban, who's actually a Kiwi, but says he's Australian, but he is a Kiwi. And well, he was born in New Zealand, but he grew up in Australia, so he calls himself Australia. I know he's got a really nice Mustang, and it would be kind of cool to have him come in because of the Kiwi connection, and obviously because of the Mustang connection. So if I was going to kind of be starry-eyed over someone, it would probably, would quite like to have him as a customer, I'll be honest. But yeah, just because of those connections. Beagle Bob, I just got all the parts for my fuel rails set up and I have a question. Does having a pressure regulator before the rails and then just going into the back of each rail with no crossover an issue? Hang on, let me read that again. Does having a pressure regulator before the rails and then just going into the back of each rail with no crossover an issue? You don't have to have a crossover, although it is more typical to have a crossover. You don't have to have one. I mean, obviously, it's got to split into two before it gets to the rails if you don't have a crossover. But are you having a return line, or is it going to be a deadhead system? Because you can, the regulator can kind of go anywhere in the system really if you've got a return line. Like I've set fuel injection regulators right back at the tank, because it doesn't really matter. Like it's had a fuel up, return, and then the pressure regulator right at the back. So there's a few different ways of doing it, but deadhead system works perfectly well. And I hope you know what I mean when I say deadhead. Just deadhead is without the return, and with a return works just as well. More recent years, the factories have been going more to a deadhead system, and I think that's a cost saving thing. It's one less fuel line to have running through the car. Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't see that as an issue. No crossover, but it's usually quite easy to have it just running into one, and then just have a little short bit of line, creating the crossover rather than having a Y before you get to the engine to split it into two. I think it would probably be easier to have a crossover, but not required. No. Laurel Flynn, glad you asked that question. Yeah, well, it's a good question. Andy Nickel, here in Alberta, insurance companies keep the wrecks off the road. Old cars and accident cars need mechanical certification to be insured. Okay. I think that's a great idea. Old cars, they really do need a mechanical certification, because some of them are just, and when I say old cars, I'm not really necessarily meaning old classics, muscle cars, that kind of the stuff we like. I'm talking about old cars being a 92, or 95, 98. They're all old cars. 80s cars are old cars. And shit's failing on them, So yeah, they need a mechanical check. Who said that? It zoomed down to the bottom when I missed something. Here we go. Stray Bullet. That would be the final nail in the coffin of the car culture. Honestly, I don't think it would. I have to respectfully disagree with you there. I think it would send some shockwaves through, and I think it would definitely take a while for it to level out. But we all love our cars, and for the most part, most of us are going to go. Well, it is for safety. They're not. If they were trying to say, you have to take your 4-barrel carbs off and go back to a 1-barrel carburetor. You have to take your big brakes off and put little brakes back on. You have to take your air conditioning out of the car. You're not allowed that. It wasn't made with it. That sort of stuff, that would put the nail in the coffin. But all these inspections are just about making your car safe, making sure your brakes work, making sure your steering wheel's not going to fall off, making sure your ball joints aren't going to fall apart. And most of us actually quite like our cars. We usually like the people we're taking in our cars, and making them safe is not. It's kind of piss a lot. It would piss a lot of people off, but I think they would come to terms with it. They would go, okay, well, it's for the right reasons. We'll just suffer along and grumble and groan about it, but they're not doing anything like mean, like just for the sake of being shitty. They just want our cars to be safe, and that's not such a bad thing. Once you kind of calm down from someone saying you've got to do this and you've got to do that, which nobody likes that, because we don't like being told what we have to do. So once people got over that, I think there would be an acceptance that this is actually going to bring the level of cars up to some degree, and obviously not the top end cars, but some of the rat rods would definitely, like the rat rod culture would definitely suffer. But the nice cars that are out there, they'd have a few things to do to them, but not that much, really. Long Island Mopars. My 66 Coronet, Dad bought new and in my care since 2011. Has four-wheel manual drums with a single master cylinder that will lock up all four wheels, but you have both feet on the brake pedal doing it. Yep. Hey, stopping, yeah. Stopping is stopping. Stray Bullet, my Silverado interior always smells like warm wiring insulation. Oh dear. That's got to be a little unnerving. Alan Shildroth, yeah, the Mustangs from Rubology cost give or take 300k. Yep, they do. I mean, a Ring Brothers Mustang, their cars start. Well, they did. I mean, they used to start at 250. That was a little while ago. It probably is. They're probably 300, and that's starting. And they go up a long way from there if you want all the good shit on them. Yeah. Beagle Bob, where is the merch for sale at? It will be for sale on YouTube, like when you go to like the home of Kiwi Classics and Customs. It'll be there, but it's not there yet. That's like next on my list. Hopefully before that shit actually arrives, I'm going to try and get onto it this weekend. I've got to sit down and figure out how to get like a little shop going inside my homepage, and there'll be links there. When you click on Kiwi Classics and Customs, and it shows you the different videos and lives and stuff like that we're doing, there'll be a little section there for merch. So that's where it'll be. Excuse me. Stray Bullet, I can remember when a 69 Chevelle was just another used car, even some of the big block powered cars. Yep. Barracuda, the discs on the front of my VH Valiant have always been disappointing. They warp after long downhills. Yep. Been skimmed a few times, whereas discs I had on earlier Valiants were much better. Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't often in the shop. I rarely machine discs because they'll warp again, and then the customer comes back 6 months later. You just did my brakes 6 months ago, and the pedal's pumping, and I'm like, we should have put new ones on. So now I just and it's fair enough. If they pay for a brake job and 6 months later it's bad, I'd be unhappy too. So the quality of the discs they make these days, once they warp, they kind of, you machine them, but the warping just, I don't know, it comes back, gets worse. I'm not quite sure what it does, but typically 6 months they're doing it again. So I just put new shit on there, and that still doesn't last as long as they did in the good old days, but it lasts longer than 6 months. So you'll get 2-3 years on them, depending how hard you are on the brakes. Biggle Bob washing soda. Okay. Arm & Hammer brand detergent is cheap. Okay. Sodium carbonate can also be found as pool acidity balancing stuff. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Yeah. Washing soda. Okay. Got that now. That's cool. Stray Bullet, they become much more prone to warping after being turned. Yeah, they do. They really do. That's what I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't turn them anymore because they just continue to warp and customers get grumpy, and I end up having to redo them, for free, and I get grumpy. So they're grumpy, I'm grumpy. Nobody's winning. So, yeah. Barracuda, I was told a model of Falcon discs will fit the Valiant and better. Not sure which Falcon though. Okay. Possible, yeah. And the spindles is, similar concept on all those cars. It's just having the right size bearing, I guess. Alan Shildroff, wood bleach for rust removal. Wood bleach, okay. Tech bits and pieces. Shame I'm busy when you're in New Zealand. It's only a 3-hour flight from Sydney. Yeah, mate, I've flown to Sydney a few times from New Zealand. That's how I met my wife. I flew over to Sydney from Auckland for the grand final back in when 1996. Flew over there for the grand final and met her there, and she was a Kiwi girl living in Sydney. And yeah, the rest is history. Beagle Bob, return line ideal from the regulator. The distributor doesn't leave room for a crossover, but I've got a port in the middle of the rail. Okay. Yeah, well, it can be anywhere in the rail. It doesn't have to be at the end. Yeah, the dude, sad the stream is ending, but I will be thinking of you tonight. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. All right, guys. Well, it's 6:09. We're 2 hours and 5 minutes. I'm getting tired. Where the questions are still coming through. Let's try and quickly go through them. Stray Bullets laughing at the do. Very good at my expense. No problem. The Wolves, Kiwi down here in Australia. I bought some thongs on the weekend. They had bottle owners built into the bottom. There's an idea for you. Yeah, there you go. Get Kiwi Classics and Customs on those. There you go. That'd be awesome. Here in Oz, modified cars need an engineer's certificate listing all the mods at time of certificate issued. Yep, they're really hot on it. And it's to keep the cowboys out, the hacks. Yeah. And really, I'd kind of like to see it here to some degree, maybe a slightly lesser degree, but I see some terrible hack jobs, some shit that just shouldn't be on the road, and it's dangerous. And it's one thing endangering your own life if you're doing shitty work, but when you start endangering other people's lives, I have a little harder time reconciling that. Andy Nickel, yeah, I thought I heard of the carbolic acid wood bleach from Amazon, not the 2-part is cheap. Okay, that's a rat. Yep, Long Island, that is a rat. Andy Nickel, I've got a full bag if you want, but Amazon is. Well, thanks for the offer, Chief. But yeah, I'll just grab it off Amazon, mate. As you say, it'll be faster. So, yeah, there we go. That's all the questions answered. Thanks, guys. Been a great night. Had a lot of fun. We had a few more laughs, maybe than usual. I don't know. It seemed like a good night tonight. So that's awesome. Thanks for joining in. Always great to chat with you guys and keep up with what's going on out there. So yeah, take it easy. Go and work on your hot rods. Go and drive your hot rods, and just have a good time. Look after each other and keep an eye out for the merch. We'll probably do a little video saying that it's out, that it's in the store or whatever. So yeah, hopefully next Tuesday night I'll be able to say picking it up tomorrow. So yeah, cool. All right, guys. Steve Sadusky, don't forget to keep Kev. Kev's here tonight. He's kind of, he hasn't said much, but he's been kind of keeping an eye on this little Mopar here. Beagle Bob, yes, some of the states do have safety inspections, but they're very superficial, to be fair. There's just brakes, lights, a little bit of not much. All right, guys, take it easy. Look after yourselves. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys. See ya.